All right, it's time to be liberated from the chaos of working in your business. Scott Beebe, the Business on Purpose podcast. Welcome in. And this is a question we get a lot, and around a topic that we have to have discussions around a lot, and that is the topic of marketing. Marketing is kind of like a greasy squirrel, right? I know squirrels are necessary to the health and well-being of the forest that they reside in, but I also sometimes feel like they just kind of get out of things. You've had that moment, right, where the squirrel is running across the road and then freezes in the middle of the road, and you start to swerve and you can't figure it out, and you start to, what do I do? What do I do? Some of you have a philosophy that you just keep going straight. Some of you have a philosophy that you stop. Some of you have a philosophy that you swerve. And the reality is nobody really knows what to do. And that's kind of like marketing. Your strategy might be X. The other person's strategy might be Y. There might be a third or fourth or fifth strategy. But if we all kind of got in a room and were really honest with ourselves around a circle, we would just kind of say, I don't really know what I'm doing. And so having parameters around marketing, I have to confess to you, I do not like marketing. I like the idea of marketing. I realize it is a necessary element of any given business. Of course, you have to have marketing. But I also want to admit to you that I don't like it. I don't like it at all. That's why we outsource a lot of our marketing and what we do with it. And we also systematize a lot of our marketing. It's because I'm not naturally good at it. We try to stick our time with what we're really excellent at, and that is coaching. Liberating small business owners from their chaos through coaching. But small business owners don't hear about it unless marketing takes place. We have even gone so far to say we feel like we've got an ethical obligation to market. Here's why. I just got off the phone with an architect yesterday. This literally just happened yesterday. This architect has been owning his own firm for 23 years. Every year for 23 years, he's been able to pay salaries, been able to pay his own salary, been able to pay taxes, been able to pay overhead, been able to pay all that stuff. But at the end of the year, zero is left over. So he's been running his own firm for 23 years. And no doubt, guys, that he's been hearing other people saying, oh my gosh, he's an architect, He's got to be walking around with cash falling out of his pocket. And the reality is that for 23 years, zero is sitting in the bank account at the end of the year. Now, there's not $0 in the bank account, but the dollars that are in there cannot be taken out as distribution because they have to be there to run the business. That's why we do so much with Profit First. Mike Michalowicz, the book Profit First, Google it. It's a must read. But with marketing, what we've found is it begins to bring in the right people for the right purpose. And so I say we've got an ethical responsibility to market. The reason we do is because that guy for 23 years has been working his rear end off. And all he needed was a little bit of coaching. And guys, by the end of this year, he just started this about a month ago. By the end of this year, with the time of this recording, will just be about a month and a half away. He will have roughly $29,000 in a profit account. I feel an ethical obligation, not because of the money, but because this guy's been laboring for 23 years with zero to show for it in terms of just raw profit that he can give away, distribute, retain, go on a trip with his family, whatever. And I feel a responsibility that the coaching that we do can help him get to the point that within a matter of 3 months from the time he started, he's going to have $29,000 in a profit account for the first time in 23 years. So marketing is the outlet that we have to live out our ethical responsibility to share the product and service. Now, if you're selling a product and service that genuinely does not serve people, you're going to use marketing as some kind of sleazy, slick snake oil sales tool. Please don't do that. Instead, leverage marketing, leverage the tool of marketing, the process of marketing, as a way to live out your ethical responsibility to get your product and service to the people who genuinely need it. But that begs the question, how do we do it and how much do we spend on it? Derek Champagne, The Artist Evolution, just Google it, The Artist Evolution. Derek Champagne, Kim Jennings Eckert, they all lead that and do a fantastic job. They're a digital marketing agency and they do a bunch of other marketing as well. But what they've done is they put together a roadmap that I think is incredibly helpful. And again, just Google them, ask for them, and they'll send this to you. There are 7 major channels of marketing that they've described. Number 1, content marketing. Number 2, social media. Now, there's some crossover there. Obviously, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, those are going to be crossover elements between content marketing and social media. The third is digital strategies. So these might be targeted email blast, pay per click, search engine optimization, those sorts of things. The fourth channel is your local community, live, in person, chamber participation, TV ads, business journal ads, radio, digital media, whatever happens. This could be networking events, etc. The fifth channel is TV and radio. The sixth channel is sales material. Case studies, could be custom design proposals, etc. And then the seventh and final is cross-selling and relationship building. This could be joint ventures, referrals, whatever that might look like for you. So 7 channels: content marketing, social media, digital strategy, local community, TV and radio, sales materials, and then cross-selling relationship building. Now, I'll tell you, for us, obviously through the podcast, we leverage content marketing, and that's a crossover between a couple of those strategies. But we also leverage cross-selling and relationship building, joint ventures. So we've got the architect firm Freedom Formula that Enoch Sears and I, businessofarchitecture.com, Enoch Sears and I run together, and that's a joint venture relationship. We're starting to do that ourselves. In fact, at the time of this recording, we're going to be going up with the Profit First guys to meet with them, to sit down and just evaluate. Nothing may come of it, or something may come of it, but we're looking at cross-selling and relationship building. And we're going with no guarantee. And so we're going just hopeful of what might come, but we've got a plan for that hope. We're not just relying on hope in and of itself. And so you've got those 7 strategies or channels that you can develop your marketing around. And then percentages. How much do you spend? Great question. So Derek Champagne and his team have come up with the idea of how much you spend. On a low end, if you want to be hyper conservative, you're going to spend 2 to 3% of your budget. Now, if you're in a high cost of goods business, home building, construction, etc., where you've got 60, 70, 80% cost of goods sold in your business, what you'll want to do is you'll want to do 2 to 3% of your real revenue. So it's your total revenue minus your cost of goods. So if you do 10 million total revenue, cost of goods is 70%, you really run a $3 million business, not a $10 million business. The remaining $7 million is just passed through cash. You're fundamentally holding a trustee account, if you will, like a real estate attorney. But you really run a $3 million business. You might be an architecture firm that does $2.4 million in business, but you've got $1 million in consultant fees. So you really run a $1.4 million business. You're just general contracting everybody else that's in there. Now, of course, you're probably taking a fee, as you should, because you're coordinating, but you're really running a $1.4 million business. So out of your real revenue, that's your total revenue minus your cost of goods in a high cost of goods business. Once you've got your real revenue, that's where you'll come back and say, okay, you've got a real revenue. We're going to take 2 to 3% if you want to be conservative in your marketing. Now, if you want to be hyper aggressive in your marketing, you're going to go up to 12 to 13%. If you want to be hyper aggressive, 12 to 13% in your marketing based on your real revenue. So if you run $1 million company, then you're going to spend at a hyper aggressive point maybe $100,000 to $130,000 a year in marketing. If you run $1 million business, just for round numbers, and that's your real revenue, and you're super conservative, you're going to spend about $20,000 to $30,000 in marketing expense in those 7 channels. Now, I would also recommend that you don't do all 7 channels together. Narrowly focus. We focus our marketing on podcast and Facebook Lives because those are areas that we can bring the most amount of value. We love to teach. That's why we offer coaching and teaching on those platforms. So the biggest platform we're going to do is we not only do our own podcast, which you're listening to right now, but we also book ourselves as guests on other podcasts so that we can teach and train leveraging other people's platforms. And we're very open with that. We tell them, thank you. We realize you've shared a platform with us, and we're grateful that you've allowed us to do it. So we know that our narrow brilliance is in teaching, coaching, and so we want to leverage platforms that enable us to do that. And right now, podcast and Facebook Live are the best that we can possibly do for that. And our video modules. That's why we give away mybusinessonpurpose.com/vision if you need clarity in articulating your vision story. Here's what I would say. Do not do marketing until you've clarified your vision. Because if you start spending money on marketing, but you don't have clarity in your vision, you're going to be wasting money, throwing it down the pit because you're just going to be scattering it everywhere. Please don't do that. Clarify your vision, get a detailed snapshot of where you're going in your business, and then you can spend the marketing dollars. mybusinessonpurpose.com/vision. That's where you can get started. And we'll see you next time right here on the Business on Purpose podcast.